Hi guys. Hi, happy Sunday to you all. Who's all joining? Let's see. We got hi Nimue. I seen your name first. Puis, hello, Tawaka. Vic Miller, hi. Veli, hello. Joe Knight, hi. Breathes Blood, hello. Alright, oh double T, hey bud. Okay. As you guys know, I was supposed to stream yesterday, as I always stream on Saturdays, and it's very rare that I don't think I've ever, since I've been on YouTube, not kept you guys in the loop as far as, hey guys, I'm going to have to postpone, due to so-and-so what's and what's, and, I feel so terrible about that, so I hope you accept my humblest apologies for that. What happened? Friday I had a procedure done, and it's called an endoscopy. It's when they surgically go in with a scope, with a camera, down your esophagus to see what kind of underlying issues you might have or your ailment, whatever. It's to basically it's a tool used for them to determine and give you a proper diagnosis of why I cannot swallow. So what she had told me, the new doctor that I had, she told me that the omeprazole that I'm taking for acid reflux is useless. She told me that my throat rings are absolutely fine. That is a motility issue, and it's muscular. So when you're eating, your esophagus, the muscles in the esophagus is what takes food down. Yeah, you know that you absolutely have this instinctual issue to swallow. It's from birth. It's just your instincts. And my muscles are not working when they go. So it's a motility issue. I don't know what's next. I have to call my doctor tomorrow and plan ahead from there. Now, all right, so I get to the hospital. My son Matthew dropped me off, and I'm in the waiting room. I'm listening to Tori's stream. As you guys know, Tori reacts. She's another reactor, real close friend of mine. And so I'm watching her stream because I hate waiting rooms. I'm just sitting there like, oh, and then I get wheeled back in. Not wheeled in. I get walked back into the operating room because when you have an endoscopy done, it's done under anesthesia, like a colonoscopy, what have you. And I'm walking back to the emergency room with a really nice female nurse. She's absolutely, the people there were absolutely amazing. And we go back there. She says, okay, everything off but your underwear. Put the opening in the back, the famous hospital gowns that your butt's all, hanging out in. And she says, can you pee in a cup? And I'm like, anytime, any place, anywhere. I'm really happy about that today because, look, as you guys know, that I had a history with substance abuse for many, many, many years. And the 1st of November 2014, I got a substance, what's called fentanyl, and it almost killed me. And fortunately for me, my parents had this gut feeling to check on me, and luckily they did because we wouldn't be talking today. That would have killed me. And the paramedics got me right in time. Reversal drugs were given to me. It's called naloxone, and that actually will bring somebody out of an overdose. Fortunately for me, they did, and that is that was number 6 for me. My second near fatal. Well, they were all near fatal, but there was 2 that was extreme. The one that I had prior to this one was me not breathing for quite a while. 4 minutes, I was flatlined, and they had to intubate me and everything. It was really scary, and I didn't quit then. But November 1st of 2014, I had enough. I was like, you know what? F this. I'm done with this, man. I'm just done. So I get to the hospital. I get undressed in their hospital gown. They're really hot yellow socks that go, they have the slippy things on there so you don't fall. They're like slip resistant hospital socks. They're very ugly. They have no shape to them whatsoever. So I get all of my jewelry out, what have you. And I get I get to laying down, and I had some male nurses come in, and they were really handsome, really nice to me. So they were pampering me with warm blankets and all kinds of fun stuff. Well, the next part is like, I tell them my history. They know, they ask, when you're in the United States, you have a thing called the PDMP system, which not only tracks pharmaceuticals, but when you're in your charts, if you have any type of substance abuse issues, or if you're drug seeking from hospitals, they will red flag you, and they will have every hospital from here to the borders knowing that you are have a history with drug abuse or drug seeking or your doctor shopping. It's all there. And it's in your chart. And so I don't hide anything. When I experience anything medical, I am honest. I talk to my doctors and I tell them everything, because it's important. If you hide something like that from your doctors, especially given my history of recovery and addiction, if you're hiding those kinds of things, guess what you're doing? You're still doing the same repetitive behaviors that kept you sick in the first place. So when you're abusing drugs, you're not used to being honest like that. So I pride myself today in being the most honest person I can be. So there's the fun part begins. I get an IV. I don't think you guys can see. Well, there's a little bruise here. It was actually placed here. They tried here, and I think here. They tried here, and then the anesthesiologist had to come in after the 2 nurses worked on me. And legally in the United States, they can only get you on the 3rd poke. If they don't get you on the 3rd poke, you're deemed what's called a hard stick, and then they have to call in a phlebotomist nurse that knows phlebotomy, knows how to. It's an IV nurse, actually. They're specifically trained in giving IVs for hard, and after all of these years of, if you guys don't know this, I was an IV drug user, and I injected myself with my drugs, and it was heroin, and the fentanyl, the first time I ever had it, almost killed me. That was the 1st of November of 2014. So the anesthesiologist gets me on the 3rd, and he gets me under here, right? And it is not comfortable at all, let me tell you. And after all these years, my veins are still, there's scar tissue. There's the veins they're tiny. They roll upon, if they see a needle, they're like, hell no, we're not doing this again. And instinctively, they will roll out of the way. They'll basically run, because that's a foreign object going into your body. They're like, hell no, you're not even supposed to be here. He gets me, we put the IV in, and they gave me some kind of sedation. I don't know what it was, but he goes, I'm just going to give you a little something to calm down. Because when I was approached by that doctor, she's like, well, why are we here? And I says, because my prior gastroenterologist told me that I had dysphagia. She goes, that's a symptom, not a diagnosis. I said, that's what he told me. And she goes, it's a symptom. It's not a diagnosis. She's proceeded to argue with me. And I said, ma'am, this is what the doctor told me. I'm just giving you what he told me. Don't kill the messenger here. And she was just really rude to me. We had a couple interactions, and then she snapped at me and then I was like, this is what I said. What the fuck is wrong with this lady that she's got to be like this? She looked like one of those extreme, like, liberal feminists. And I was just like, she did not like me, and I did not like her. So they gave me some kind of sedation. I don't know if it might have been like Versed or Valium or something. I don't even know. So they wheel me into the OR, which is the operating room, and they tell me to lay on my side. And before I knew it, I hear the word fentanyl. And so my eyes got really big. I'm like, what? And before I knew it, that was it. Lights out. I was completely gone. Lights out. And I had no idea what had happened. I don't know. I didn't dream. I didn't see nothing. It was just lights out. And I'm woken up by the nurses. Jennifer. It was actually my nurse that woke me up first, because in recovery, they wake you up, then they call your family. They had to give me the reversal drugs to get me to wake up, because that fentanyl that they gave me affected me so much that I wasn't waking up from anesthesia. And then this had happened to me one prior time when I had a lumpectomy done, when in the same hospital, well, not the same hospital. This was a Hoosier, that was South Point. But anyway, so when I had been given fentanyl before, I literally literally could not wake up from the anesthesia. It affected me that much. So before I could even speak, that drug was in that IV and I was gone. Because and my doctor prior that ordered this, Dr. Dumont, he wasn't the one that performed the endoscopy. I forget what her name was, Dr. Foe. Actually, now I remember because I called her faux pas. That's right. She knew that Dr. Dumont said, we're going to give you Profenol. And if you guys don't know what Profenol is, it's an anesthetic. And that's actually what Michael Jackson was killed with. He was addicted to Profenol. It's a surgical anesthetic that, you know, your drug tolerance is really high when you're shooting up or you have an IV on tap of Profenol. So my doctor ordered me to have Profenol, not fentanyl, given my my history, right? And they gave it to me anyway. So why couldn't I stream yesterday? Well, when I got home Friday, I was out of it, completely in a fog, in a daze. I couldn't even see straight. I slept and I slept and I slept. And then Saturday, I slept and I slept and I slept until about 12:30, maybe about 11 p.m. because I caught Bowser's stream and I said hi to everybody and whatnot, but it was absolutely crazy. I still haven't gotten fixed. My esophagus it's still the same. I told her what we didn't do the dilation, so I can't eat. Oh, no, you have a motility issue. We're going to have to go from here. You're going to have to go through, have more testing done. You're going to have a thing stuck down your throat to swallow to see where we're at. And then if it doesn't work, what other methods, we're going to have to give you surgery. I'm like, yay. So that's exactly what had happened. And every time I would basically open my eyes, I would just fall back asleep. I was literally that messed up from that. And I did not like that feeling whatsoever. I was miserable. I was like, dude, I cannot believe I used to anesthetize myself like this for so many years. And after so many years of you not having that drug or that type of opiate drug in your system, it messes you up really bad. And I know there's a lot of people out there that you know will go off and running again just from that because they don't have that strong will, you know, and that mentality of nothing will ever get me to go back there. You know, this is it's actually not them, it's their addictions that say, didn't that feel good? Didn't you miss me? And then they go off and running again. You know, your brain is an addict's brain is completely different from a non-addict's brain. And, you know, it does take years and years for your brain to rewire itself. Fortunately for me, mine has rewired itself and then some. It's repaired itself and it's like, F to the no, are you going to be touching that stuff again? And why is fentanyl so deadly? Oh my God. It is 100 times more potent than morphine heroin. And it's there's another substance out there called carfentanil. And that is, it's really, really bad. I think it's 50 times more powerful than morphine and heroin, and then carfentanil is 100. So if you were to take 3 granulates like sand or salt, that would kill a grown-ass man that's 6'3" and 280 pounds. You know, it does not take much. You see all the time on the internet of police officers that are interacting with it. And this, why fentanyl is so dangerous is because it could be transmitted subdermally. So that means you could touch it and it can go into your system and it could kill you. You could breathe it in the air. That's what happens to a lot of police officers. They either touch it or they breathe it in because maybe the wind kicks up or something, and that fentanyl or carfentanil goes airborne and it goes in through their into their nose, and then that's it. It's like lights out. There was actually I think it was San Diego, if I'm not mistaken, where there was a sheriff's deputy who was on a routine traffic stop or a warrant or something, and he overdosed right then and there, falling out. It was so scary. I think I can pull it up. Hey guys, what's going on? Dorinda, you know, Dorinda knows all about the fentanyl and how bad it is. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but I really like to educate people and show people that there is a chance, if you are struggling with that you can get over that, you can get through it, and then you can get the possibilities are endless once you put that substance down. When I tell you guys that misery that I was in, it was a prison. I was free, but I was a prisoner within my own body and a slave to a substance, and that's not fun. But this is what I love to do the most. I love the music reactions because music is so healing. It's got me through a lot of shit. That's absolutely one of my favorite things to do with you guys. What I love to do, what my passion really is to help people and to educate them and to show you and give you proof that, statistically, 3% of opiate addicts, I don't care if you're on pills, heroin, fentanyl, carfentanil, I don't care which opiate you choose, what's your drug of choice, but, there is a 3% chance that you will successfully recover from that. And that means that there's a 97% failure rate. And if I could educate people and show people, hey, look, man, I was one of the worst junkies. I sold my body for drugs. I stole from my parents. I really didn't steal from stores because I didn't want to risk going to jail, and I was fortunate enough to have my life spared. My life was spared for a reason. And I look at this today and I say, you know what? I'm here for a reason. And, Roman, I'm going to kick his butt. It's so I can help people and show people that, this is possible. It's going to be a long, hard road. It really is. When you go through withdrawal, and if you look on the drug dependency scale, the opiates are king supreme because that's a physical withdrawal and it's a physical dependence that you have. I really do want to get rid of these felonies. We're one step closer. The fines are being taken care of. And then we're going to go forward and follow through with the other 2 expungements so I can go back to school. Because I really want to do the social work. I really want to educate the public. Hey, listen, and show people and rehabs and whatnot. Hey, listen, look. You think you're bad? You think you don't have a chance to turn your whole life around? Bull crap, because I was in those chairs. I was in prison, and look at me now. Look at me today. I have one of the best relationships with my kids. I have my sister and brother back. I have my mom back, And what really sucks about addiction is it will use anything and everything to as an excuse to come back into your life, to take that life back from you. And unfortunately, when addiction wins, you lose big time, and so do all your loved ones, because that means your life, that was the cost. So if I could educate people, I'm going to. Can I help everybody? No, and I wish I could. It is inevitably it's up to that person who is that slave to that substance to say, you know what? I'm done. I need to take my life back. And if they don't, you know what? They don't want it. What can we do? Nothing. You know that old saying is, yeah, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Yeah. And I learned a long time ago that I can't control the actions of others. I can only control my own actions. And until that addict actually sees that the consequences far outweigh the pluses, the pros are like, and the cons are like, they're not going to see it until something happens. Either they have a wake-up call. Like I said, you guys, I almost died 6 times. The 2 very near fatal ones didn't. The first one wasn't enough. The second one, when I got fentanyl for the first time, it was it. That was it. I was like, nope, never again, because that is when the fentanyl had flooded the streets. This is the beginning of the fentanyl crisis. The opiate crisis started long ago in the mid to late 90s, when Purdue Pharmaceuticals had pushed out OxyContin as a miracle drug, non-addictive. It is going to fix the 6th vital sign, and you're like, wait, what? And Purdue marketed it quite brilliantly to make money, but they did not tell people how addictive OxyContin was. That's what spiked that. You know, heroin has been around for a long time, you guys. Heroin has been around since, I don't know when, a long time. And how is heroin made? It's derived from the opium poppy. And, you know, fentanyl is easy. You don't have to wait for the poppy to drain the opium out of the poppy. You don't have to break the morphine out of the opium, then break the heroin out of the morphine. It's a very, you know, there's chemicals involved. It's a long process, you know. And how do I know this? Because when I was a drug addict, my ass ordered poppy seeds and I thought I was going to grow my own. Yeah. That's how stupid I was. And I had them sent through the mail nonetheless. Hello. That is just what the F, Jen. Really? There's some really questionable things I did when I was on drugs. And I'm really like, I look back at it now like, oh my God, I cannot believe you actually thought that was a good idea. So the fentanyl crisis really hit the streets because, you know, the Mexican cartels, China produced it. China mass-produced fentanyl, right? And what some of you guys might not know is out of the world's pharmaceuticals, the United States of America consumes over 50% now. I think it's close to 75% now. And so when Purdue marketed OxyContin, all the pain clinics were like, you know, if you stubbed your toe, you could say you have chronic pain. And those doctors were getting kickbacks from Purdue Pharmaceuticals for writing prescriptions. So you've seen an influx of doctors overwriting prescriptions for fentanyl and OxyContin. Fentanyl patches weren't really a big thing back then, but they were. They were kind of like you had to know somebody that knew somebody that knew somebody to get them, because they were very, you know, only used really for people that were in palliative care, which means end of life, and then in terminal care also with cancer. And people that had like multiple back surgeries and nothing else was working, so they would give you guys a fentanyl patch. Stick one on your body and it's good for 3 days. But the drug addicts, of course, were going to capitalize on that. And they would cut them open and inject that. And back then, you didn't really hear about fentanyl overdoses, you guys. I had a person die in my house. Not once, but twice. And, you know, it's very scary. It's very scary. I didn't even do the drugs back then. Like I did drugs, but not opiates. And I had a guy overdose and die on my floor. And this is when I was actually in college for nursing. And I tried everything to give this guy CPR, but he was dead. He was long gone. He was not coming back. So, you know, I don't know what had happened, but, you know, the curiosity, I think, killed the cat. And I was like, you know what? I want to try this. And I basically browbeat my friend into giving me some. And that was the start. Then 2006 is when I started, and I was off and running from RIP. I had a lot of money. I had a lot of money from an insurance company. I had a fire in my home. So I had roughly, I'd say about $60,000 in cash. So I was, you know, I was everybody's friend. And, you know, when that money was gone, guess what happened? So were they. It was crazy, and I was living very dangerously. And about a month into my addiction is when I started to inject. And at first it was going, so, you know, and through the nasal passage, and that's how I was getting high. And then I started shooting up, and it was a mess. It was an absolute disaster. But here's the thing. I seen myself losing weight. I was like, ooh, I look good. Literally, I looked like The Walking Dead. And I thought I looked the best, right? I made a lot of questionable decisions also. You know, I wasn't the greatest mother. I was definitely not the greatest daughter. My parents were absolutely petrified that I was going to die. And a couple of times I almost had, and that wasn't enough. The second time, the first time that I ever got fentanyl, and I'm going to tell you guys how bad my addiction got. I'm going to get really deep here before I end this stream and go to do my reactions. I just want to get this off my chest because I just want people to know how bad it got. And, you know, I can't sugarcoat anything when it comes to this kind of topic because it is so taboo. People that have addicts in their family, they want to hide that. They don't want people to know. They're ashamed, yet they feel helpless, you know, because here you have this hopeless drug addict in their home or, you know, in their family, and everybody, you know, they want to shield people from that because, you know, who wants to have a daughter that's addicted to heroin? You're constantly, or a son, you're constantly worried you're going to get a call from the coroner or the police department. You know, fortunately, my mother was relieved when I would get those calls that I was in jail. At least you knew I was safe. So, you know, it got really, really, it got really crazy. I've been shot at. I've been robbed. I have robbed dope dealers. I have robbed people. You know, I've slept with people for money, and I was like, what the hell was I thinking? You know, but here's the thing, when you become addicted to a substance like that, you are a slave to it. You are going to do anything and anything or everything for that substance so that you don't go through the withdrawals. About a month into my use, I was still, you know, and I was like, okay, you know what? I've been doing this every day now. I think I need to just like, whoa, lay off of this. And I tried to quit cold turkey. And I had no idea what withdrawal was, because you guys, after all these years, I could take pills and take pills for days. Like Oxycontins, methadones, all kinds of stuff, right? And nothing would make me go through withdrawal. I didn't experience it. I thought I'm immune to it. Yeah. Well, a month into my addiction, I tried to go cold turkey, and I went through what I think was the worst experience of my life. I felt like I was gonna die, and I was like hoping, like, oh my god, I hope I don't die from this. What is going on? So I called my friend, and I was like, hey, what's going on here? You know, I'm sweating, but yet I'm freezing. I got goose pimples all over my skin. I'm sneezing 3 times in a row. I'm throwing up. You know, fortunately for me, I only had the vomit. I didn't have the diarrhea really, you know, like most people in withdrawal have both, or, you know, one or the other, or both, you know, and fortunately for me, I did not. I vomited a lot. And you know, your muscles are aching, you have involuntary kicks, because the brain is literally, your opiate receptors are screaming for you to saturate them some more with that opiate. And if you do not, oh my god, it is hell on earth inside of your body, and you feel like just death, you know. And so I tried doing this cold turkey, and I made it about 2.5 days, and I would be standing in my hot shower with it's scalding hot, and I'm freezing. I'm like, oh, you know, it was really bad. And, you know, my friend goes, Jen, you got money? And I'm like, yeah, I got money. And he goes, what have you been waiting for? You know, you're going through this torture for 2.5 days. Why don't you just pick up that phone? And then I did. And so I think I would, you know, I had no shame whatsoever. You know, when I go pick up drugs, I would drive on the freeway, and, you know, on the freeway, I didn't care, because, you know, it's done like that. Drug deals are done like that too. You pull up, they hand it to you, you hand them the money, you go. And that's it. You know, drug deals happen so fast that some people don't even know. You know, if you're naive to that, and you're walking down the street, you see some, you know, a little tiny movement of exchange, that could be a drug deal. You don't know. Stay out of it though, if it is, because you don't want no smoke with that, you know. And don't call the cops. Let the cops do their job, you know. So you know, I had no shame, and then I started to inject, because when you do an opiate, you build up this thing called a tolerance, and the amount that you're normally used to doing to achieve that high, it's not working anymore. And no, the first time, you'll never get that back. You'll never get that feeling back the first time that you ever do a drug, and all of that dopamine is surging, and you're just like, what in the hell is this? This is the best thing ever. You know, heroin was like a warm hug when you had it, and it was like a punch in the face when you didn't, and in the gut, and in the back, and in your thighs, and all kinds of places. You know, it was really bad. It's really bad stuff. So you know, my tolerance kept building up slowly and slowly. At first I would do 1/4 of a gram, and then it would go up to 1/2 of a gram, and then it was like a gram, and I'm buying a gram a day, and that's up to, you know, $200 depending on the quality of it, you know. So I was like, all right, guys, and I'm hanging out with the crappiest people ever. So, you know, because normal people don't inject drugs, you know, but when you're addicts, you tend to hang out with other addicts because y'all are running in the same crew and you're doing the same thing. Hence, you're not getting much judgment from them now, are you? Because if they judge you, then, you know, that's like the pot calling the kettle black. You know, so I basically hung out with just junkies. And, you know, I'm looking at them and I'm going, and when they did it, it was like that. And, you know, because when you're doing it in the nose, you know, it takes a minute to get there, you know, to go, you know, through the mucous membranes and stuff, you know. It's like, no, I'm seeing these people, they do it, and they're like, ugh. And I don't know how come that looks so damn appetizing to me. I was like, wow, that looks like a lot of fun. I tell you what, I watched that shit on the internet today, you guys, and I'm like, mortified. Like, oh my God, I've been there, and that is not fun at all. It's not. So I hung out with my friends, and I'm like, look, I want to do what you guys are doing. Can you show me how? Because I never did it before, and I was just like, okay, you know, and they showed me. I had my friend inject me, the one that showed me and gave me the heroin for the first time. He showed me how. And I have to stress this, that he wasn't like, hey, do this drugs or I'm going to shoot you in the head. No. No, not at all. Quite the opposite. He was arguing with me about it, but I'm very persuasive when I want, right? Especially under the influence and stuff like that. You know, I was extremely persuasive. It wasn't that I was persuasive in effective manipulation. Oh no, I'm one of those people that's so strong-willed. I'm a Taurus, so I'm very bullheaded, and I will push and I will push and I will push until I get my way. You know, it's been like that since I was a kid. You know, and I only today I use that for the greater good. I don't use it in an evil way whatsoever. But so he showed me how to inject, and for a minute there, he had to keep doing it for me, which was really annoying because I had to be with him all of the time to do it. One day, I decided to try it myself. And, you know, back then, you could go up to the pharmacy and pull up and say, they're like, well, welcome to Giant Eagle or CVS. What would you like today? And you're like, hi, can I have 1 cc insulin syringes, 27 gauge, please? Or I think it's 20. I don't remember the gauge needles that I would use, but the thinner the better, right? Because they go through your skin really quick. And you could order diabetic insulin syringes, you know, right in the drive-thru, or walk up to a pharmacy and get them back then. You know, in 2006, it was still kind of underground. It really didn't get bad in mainstream until about 2012. Then everybody was like, we're locking all of this down. You guys ain't getting syringes without a prescription for them. And they made it really hard for drug addicts to do that. When they do that, though, here's the thing. That is going to cause addicts to say, oh, I can't get it from the pharmacy safely. All right, then, I found one on the ground. I'm just going to use that and think that they can put alcohol on it and sterilize it. And they will reuse needles. I cannot sit here and lie to you guys and tell you that I never did that. Of course I did. I exposed myself to the hepatitis virus also, the hepatitis C virus. Fortunately for me, I had an enzyme in my body and an antibody that kicked its ass. Luckily for me, because not a lot of people there are lucky like that. And I can't even begin to tell you how many people that I do know that are suffering today with hepatitis C, and it ends up killing them. So I'm fortunate for me that, you know, that I was able to beat that. I'm so lucky. I can't even begin to tell you guys. So I learned how to inject myself. And I'm going to tell you what, it was seventh heaven. That was the feeling I got. The first time I ever injected, and this was before I learned how to do it. I felt it go in my vein and go up my medial vein, down my arm. And it was the warmest rush ever. I got tingles everywhere, in my tongue even. My tongue was tingling. I was like, whoa. Immediately, the physiological pain, the psychological pain, and every pain that I had was gone. I was comfortably numb. That's why you guys hear that song from Pink Floyd, right? Comfortably numb. There's a lot of songs out there, especially by Tool, that are driven by heroin. You know, opiate, you know, H, you know, a lot of his songs are, Maynard songs are written about that. And I was just comfortably numb. I didn't have a care in the world. You know what I cared about? That drug. That was it. Really. I mean, I had my son Matthew and I cared about my son. I love my son. But you know what? I put that drug in front of him on numerous occasions. I've taken him on, I've taken him before. I think I took him to roughly 2 drug deals in his life. And that's not saying that two is plenty. 1 is too many. 1 is too many. And so I started by, I started sending him off to his grandparents' house so he didn't have to do that. Because when I had my son, and not a lot of you guys know this, I don't think any of you do. I took my son to Cedar Point. My friend had given me $300 to literally not even sleep with him, to pick him up and take him all the way from what's called Parma, Ohio to Sandusky. It's like an hour and a half drive. So he says, listen, I want to go see my daughter. I'll give you $300. We could take your son to Cedar Point for the day. And all you got to do is drop me off there. We'll spend the day at Cedar Point with me and my daughter, you and your son, and then bye, leave. He paid for parking and food and everything throughout the day. So we had a good time at Cedar Point, and I had $300 in my pocket. What do you guys think an addict is going to do with $300? So on the way home, which was now, because I left that park at 12 midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning, I call my drug dealer, and I said, he didn't want to answer the phone. And I had an hour and a half to berate him and keep calling him the bullheaded me, right? And so I'm like, I have $300. How about that? Not saving an ounce of money, a bit of money, not 1 penny did I save of that. I gave it to a damn drug dealer. And my friend had actually filled my gas tank, so I was all gravy there. I had a beautiful 2002 Grand Prix, or 2001 or 2002 Grand Prix. It was silver. It was a GT. It was beautiful. It was such a beautiful car, right? So I have my son Matthew. He's in the back, and there was a street in Cleveland called Eddy Road, and it's infamous, right? Because when you get off the freeway, if you're going eastbound, if you get off the freeway, you go left. That's where all the Browns players live, the Cavs players, the uber rich Cleveland players, the Cleveland people. They live on Eddy Road in Bracknell, but on the other side of the bridge. Now, if you make a right while coming from the west, you're gonna go into the ghetto, the hood. And it's infamously known for heroin. In the streets of Cleveland, it's broken down into sections, basically like Skid Row in Los Angeles. You can have, 140th Street, you're going to get your crack and your cocaine. You're going to go to Eddy Road for your heroin. And I got really familiar with that area, and the police were really familiar with me, unfortunately. So I pull up to the drug dealer's house, and it's done like that, real quick. And I'm so skilled at this point. This is numerous years into my addiction. I'm so skilled at the point where I can literally drive, cook it, inject it while with my steering wheel with my knee. I'm steering with my knee at this time in my life. I don't even care that my son is in the back seat. This is how bad that addiction had its grasp into me. Claws. It was like I didn't even give a shit that my kid was there. And that's a problem to me today. And can I do anything about it now? Talk about it and show my remorse and feel remorse and know this is another reason why I will never touch that shit again. So I do this while my son is in the backseat of my car. All gravy, right? Everything's good. Well, I did a little too much. I had gotten us all the way off the freeway, right? And I get to an intersection. It's a T intersection. That means it's like this. I'm coming northbound. We have an east to west, a street running parallel, or what is that, perpendicular? I don't fucking know angles. But anyway, I'm going like this. This is Lakeshore Boulevard. There's a bar right here called Wits End. And I'm driving up Lost Nation Boulevard. And it's actually named after the Lost Nations, the tribes, right? And there's a red light there. Now, there could be cars coming eastbound, westbound. It's 2:30 in the morning by then because I'm about 15-20 minutes away from Bracknell and given all the red lights and stuff like that. So I meet that intersection and I don't know what happened. I blacked out, completely blacked out, and ran that red light. And my son was, I don't know how Matthew was still awake, but he was about 7 or 8 years old at this time. He's screaming, "Mom, Mom!" And he's like, "Stop!" And I come to, and I'm about 80% through the intersection already. Thank God, or any other goddess or gods up there. Thank God there was no traffic coming like this, east to westbound, where we would have gotten T-boned. Thank God, right? I don't care who you believe in. I'm just saying God right now. I hit the brakes, but it's not enough. Mind you, I have 2 grams of dope on me, needles, a spoon, all kinds of tourniquets and stuff in my kit, because drug addicts carry a kit with them. I have all of this paraphernalia, and I'm possessing drugs, right? I hit the brakes, but it's not enough. I jumped the curb, and I actually peeled back the guardrail. It looked like someone, like the Grim Reaper, took his scythe, and he went down the side of my car. That's what it looked like. Well, the people from the bar, I couldn't even believe this when they said this, but at the time, I was like, you guys are drunk. What the hell? You know, they're like, we're calling the police. You're clearly drunk. I'm like, no, I'm not. And I wasn't going to be like, duh, I'm shooting dope. I'm not drunk. I don't drink, because drinking really never has been my thing, you guys. When I do drink, I don't like the person I am. When I do drugs, I don't like the person I am either. That's why I don't do them anymore. So the police come, they tow my vehicle, they give me a failure to control. Oh my God. Before the police got there, I put my kit on some guy's, like he had like an old like cutlass, and I put it in his wheel well on top of his tire, and I'm like, what? While the cop is there questioning me, I'm just like, my brakes failed. You know, he basically just gave me a ticket for failure to control. Did not do a roadside sobriety test at this time, right? And I'm watching the whole time this cutlass, like, you better not move, dude. If this dude runs over my drugs, I'm gonna be really upset. You know, I just spent $300 on them, and he puts my son Matthew in the car. I only lived about a quarter mile away, and so I tell him, I think I left my phone or something over there. I think I dropped my phone. Can I go look? And he's like, yeah, go ahead. So I went there. I grabbed my drugs, put them back in my purse. And the cop drove me home with my son. I'm like, I look at this now and I'm going, oh my God. This is why when I tell you guys I was one of the worst junkies that you could ever meet, I mean it. I've done some really shitty things in my life, but I'm not afraid today to tell you guys and to show people, hey, listen, you think you're so bad, or you're not bad enough to where, you know, you think that your addiction has not grabbed you. You think you got this beat, right? If I wasn't addicted, I would have never done that. Because when I got home from prison, let me tell you what, guys. Guess what? Nothing could ever make me ever put anything else in front of my kids again. My kids they're king supreme today. So fentanyl, right? We're going to go back to fentanyl because as you guys know, I inevitably went to prison because of a drug transaction over the phone. And I called a drug dealer. His phone was federally tapped, and I went to prison for 3 years for violating probation because I was first put on probation in that case. I had been arrested a couple of times before then also. I had a couple of charges, and that's why the judge was so hard on me. She ordered me to treatment. I failed. I overdosed. Actually, that was the time I overdosed on this stuff, fentanyl, right? I'm about to play a video, guys, a real short video to show you guys what it is if you don't know it by now. But chances are with today, everybody knows what fentanyl is. But, you know, I actually... I got fentanyl for the first time, and that was November 1st of 2014. I seen my friend Hyatt at an AA meeting, and I berated his ass until he gave me a phone number because I was sober for 5 months because I went to jail for a couple months, and then I went to treatment for 64 days or 62 or 64. I don't remember. And it was the first time I got fentanyl. And, you know, I knew, hey, Jen, I didn't know it looked the same. it looked the same, because heroin can come in gray, it could come in brown, white, black tar. It has many forms, so you really don't question the color. And it looked the same. Could be light brown, dark brown, black tar, which I never did. Honestly, never once did black tar. Only China white. And so I did a little bit. It was like, 1cc is capable of holding 100 units. And I did that much. Because I'm like, dude, I've been sober for 5 months. Just a little bit. I actually found a vein in my breast. That's where I injected myself on 11/1/2014. That's where I injected myself, and I walked upstairs, let my dogs out, and then I was done on the ground. That's how quick fentanyl hit me, and with such a small amount too. When I mean small amount, I'm used to doing syringes that are full capped. They are full, the 100 units, and I would play a game to see if I can go above that 100 units, but still you have to leave room for the flash of your blood to show that you're in a vein. And it's, I would push the limits. I would do two full of, I was up to 2 grams a day at one point. $300 a day on a habit, right? Because that habit builds and builds and builds. So that was the first and the last time I got fentanyl. So I thought, and then Friday I was given it and it messed me up so bad. I'm still feeling the effects today, you guys. I'm still feeling the effects today. 3 days later, what is it? 2 days later now? Yeah, still feeling it. I wanted to show you guys, some of you already know what fentanyl is and what I pulled off of here, which I think this is extremely important because this is killing people. There is a, this is an epidemic. The crack epidemic of the 80s, and then now the opiate epidemic of, today. What is so dangerous, more dangerous about the fentanyl and the heroin epidemic and the opiate crisis now is the amount of death that it leaves in its wake. And this is what I pulled up. This is ASAP or ASAP Science. And this has got 4.7 million views. It's a brief video. I just want to show you guys what this is. Hold on. I want to watch it too because I haven't seen it yet. But I want to give you an idea of what it does and how strong it is. If a lot of people, listen, it's okay to use if you're not addicted, if you're going through surgery. It is okay. Whatever your doctor says, I'm no doctor. This is not medical advice whatsoever. This is strictly for entertainment purposes only, you guys, and to share my personal story, But if your doctor deems it okay for you to have fentanyl while you're going under anesthesia, that is up to your healthcare provider. I am not a doctor, so I will not dispute, and I will not, tell, whatever. You get what I mean. All right. This video was uploaded to clarify some points about dosage. Okay. 3 minutes, you guys.
Fentanyl is not a new drug, but has seen such a dramatic increase in the past 3 years that it has become a crisis in North America. Simply touching it may cause you to overdose, so what exactly does it do to your brain and body? Fentanyl is an opioid that can inhibit pain signals in multiple pathways along the brain and spinal cord. This is why it was initially prescribed for pain relief. It also causes your brain to make extra dopamine, creating sensations of intense euphoria and relaxation.
Did I tell you guys when I injected for the first time and I felt that rush through my body? And it was my brain. You actually are born with opiate receptors in your brain. Those are your pain receptors as well. When you saturate those receptors in your brain with a foreign substance, it chemically goes to your brain and it rewires your brain. Addiction is more complex than some of you guys may think. Some of you guys may think, oh, a drug addict, just, not anybody here, because a lot of you guys are so understanding. You're so amazing. And I see a couple of you guys have gone through this yourself, and congrats if you've made it through there. That's amazing. You're a warrior. That's why I have my warrior tag on today. Okay. It's more complex than some people think. Some people out there in the world, I'm going to say, think that, oh, it's just an addict, they could just quit. Why don't you just quit? In fact, my stepfather, my dad, he told me, why don't you just drink 7 beers and be done with it? I'm like, if it were only that easy, there would not be a bazillion rehab clinics in the whole world. So it completely rewires your whole brain. And like I said earlier in my video, it takes you years for your brain to rewire itself back to normal. And I don't think I'm normal in the slightest. But I pride myself in being clean from this shit. So what this happened to me, you guys, it was like, oh my God, almost 8 years. I felt like I flushed my whole sobriety down the toilet. Now, if I pick back up, that statement that I just said would be true.
Essentially, fentanyl hijacks your body's built-in system of endorphins by binding to your opioid receptors much in the same way your endorphins do, but at a significantly stronger level. This might sound fun, but activating these receptors can also suppress your brain's ability to detect CO2 levels in the body, potentially causing a person to stop breathing.
Which, when that happens, that's called respiratory arrest. That is the first thing that happens in an overdose. You stop breathing. That is the first. When I overdose, I see black. And it was nothing. It was nothingness. There was no white lights. There was no angels. My family members were not there that had passed away. It was sheer blackness. I was in a black hole of some sort. So that's the first step in an overdose is respiratory arrest. And when you stop breathing, if you stop breathing for a while there, that is why it is imperative if you find somebody and you don't have naloxone, you do chest compressions until they get there. The second stage is cardiac arrest. That's when your heart stops, and then brain death.
On top of this, side effects include dizziness, chills, vomiting, fainting, difficulty urinating, and extreme constipation. In addition, fentanyl is much stronger than other opioids, 100 times stronger than morphine and 50 times stronger than heroin.
Okay, so I was right.
For many drugs to work, they need to pass the blood-brain barrier. This barrier allows small fat-soluble substances to pass and water-loving molecules to be inhibited. Both morphine and heroin are lipid-soluble, but they have polar, water-loving groups that make them pass the barrier much more slowly, whereas fentanyl is extremely nonpolar and fat-soluble, entering the brain within seconds.
This is why it's very deadly, because people will overdose on fentanyl rapidly, very rapidly. If you see some videos of police officers or people, or if you see somebody overdosing on fentanyl, it's that fast. When I tell you when I overdosed on heroin, the second to last overdose was heroin, and that actually, it was like I felt my tongue really tingling, really a lot this time, and I was actually picked up from treatment after being sober for about 3 days. I had a bunch of money in the safe at the rehab clinic. So I was like, let's go. My friend, I called my girlfriend and I said, let's go, girl. And I bought a gram of dope, and the police actually came. I had the police report, and it was terrible. It was terrible. I actually got charged with possession of a drug abuse instrument, which was a syringe. Fortunately, Jackie hid everything. Not my good friend Jackie that you guys know today from my Nightwish videos. No. Another girl that I really don't have, I don't have any whatsoever. I can't say really don't, because I haven't talked to her in years, because I don't talk to people like that anymore. I keep away from everybody like that. But she did hide everything. So, like this video just said, fentanyl gets into your blood and your brain really fast.
This means you only need tiny amounts to get high, and that's where, in part, the danger lies. A lethal dose of fentanyl can be around 2 milligrams. In a test
Hold on, let's get rid of these so we can see what it looks like in a test tube.
tube that looks like 2 grains of salt, and since a high level of precision is needed to dose it effectively, it's very easy to overdose. In fact, there are some reported incidents of first responders ODing from simply touching fentanyl powder or inhaling its dust, though some toxicologists doubt the accuracy of these cases. If it can be administered in time, an injection of naloxone can be given to a person, which works to stop an overdose by blocking opioid receptors. But the science cannot keep up with the rate of new fentanyl analogs being produced.
So here's what they're saying is that when one fentanyl analog is outlawed, especially, or no longer manufactured, they'll just come up with another one. The analogs, the chemistry, they just kind of, they play with it a little bit until they find another one, and another one, and another one, until, they kill everybody.
Like carfentanil, which is 10,000 times more powerful than morphine and has been cited for its possible use in chemical warfare.
And elephants! It tranquilizes elephants! Look how small you are compared to an elephant. I'm just saying.
Today, drug overdose deaths in America are rising faster than ever, with 65,000 deaths in 2016 compared to 59,000 in 2015, and opioid use is the crux of the problem. For context, this is higher than the peak gun deaths, peak HIV deaths, and peak car crash deaths.
Number
All
one.
evidence points towards the problem worsening by the end of 2017.
And that was that, and look at today.
Reason? Research points to widespread prescription of opioids for pain, which leads to addiction. There's also an ease of access for non-prescribers, causing millions of tablets to fall into the wrong hands. As the danger became more clear, doctors decreased prescriptions of opiates, but this didn't change the fact that thousands of people were addicted, causing them to seek out illegal markets. With an increase in demand, illicit drug markets turned to cheaper production solutions.
Supply, demand. Supply and demand. Where there's a demand, there will always be a supply. And those cheaper productions, I'm talking about the labs in China, and now the cartels in Mexico have capitalized on the fentanyl and carfentanil market.
Unlike heroin, which is synthesized from poppies, fentanyl is entirely synthetic and can be made anywhere for cheap. China has become a heavyweight in manufacturing fentanyl, and North American law is working to seize supply. However, the UN urges that solutions to the crisis will lie in persuading people not to use opiates, as blocking China's market may simply cause production to move to another nation. Several experts are calling for government support for safe consumption sites where people suffering addiction can be supervised, minimizing risk of overdose, and be supported with counseling and anti-withdrawal drugs that can help people stop using.
Now, when a lot of people out there say that's a bad idea, no, it's not. I don't think it's a bad idea. There's a place called Insight. It's in British Columbia, in Vancouver, actually, in Canada. Now, these are called Insight. They're safe injection sites where they will actually, there's some places that will actually give out hospital grade heroin or heroin that was bought on the dark web. I've seen videos of that recently too. But when you are giving these addicts, access to their drugs, clean instruments to use those drugs, you're gonna break down, you're gonna stop them from going to drug dealers that could possibly give them fentanyl, which will kill them. You're stopping the transmission of hepatitis C, HIV, AIDS, because you're giving them those clean instruments to use those drugs, clean cookers, clean cottons, clean syringes. So I'm all for those sites because it's saving people, and plus they can be monitored. So if something does happen, where an overdose does happen, and which they don't, because they dose it out correctly according to your tolerance, and they don't, or actually they don't even screw with your tolerance. They go by your height and your body weight, so that you cannot overdose. And if you do, they will bring you back with naloxone, which is Narcan.
But can some drugs be good for you? Check out our second video here, where we look through the surprising benefits of some illegal drugs and what new research is revealing. Check it out by clicking the screen or using the link in the description.
Now, I'm if you guys don't know this, I'm a card holder for medical marijuana, and I have PTSD, and I don't use it every day. I use it when I have PTSD flare-ups. So, and it helps with chronic pain. I don't know why marijuana is federally illegal. They just tried to pass a bill I've seen, and I think that is a good idea. If it helps people, I'm all for it. Now, decriminalization of drugs has happened. California's giving out drugs to people. They're giving you whatever you want, basically, for free. And I can't honestly say that, I'm mad about that, because, that's a double-edged sword, because it's taxpayer dollars, and, California, I'm all the way in Ohio, so I don't have a say. And if it keeps people from dying, then I'm all for it, because that was the statistics in 2017. I'm kind of intrigued to see what the statistics are today, because fentanyl is killing everybody. It's killing, I was just, actually, let me do 2022. Let's do 2020, because 2023 hasn't been counted for yet. The nurse that actually walked me back into the operating room, her niece, 25 years old, and her boyfriend are gone. And why I will forever not shut up about this is because it might help that addict out there be like, if she can do it and what all she's been through, how she, was a slave to that drug for so many years and how she beat that, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And I'm going to scream it from the rooftops, and I'm going to publicize it. I'm going to shatter that taboo that a lot of people don't want to talk about addiction. Well, when you don't talk to your children about addiction, guess what happens? They have peer pressure. They see other kids in school doing it, and I would be damned if my son ever were to pick up that. And I talk to my son, even though he's going to be 19 years old and he's off in college, we have talks all of the time. And, sitting down at the dinner table has become less and less customary. It's become quite taboo now because everybody's like this. They're on their phones instead of sitting at the dinner table like a family. And I always had that rule of, we're at the dinner table, put your phones away. And I got a lot of, a lot of, bullshit because, that wasn't liked at all. But I want your undivided attention. This is one time of the day where we can sit down as a family and eat dinner and have a discussion. And a lot of the times I would, it would turn into that because of what I went through. I don't, and my son is so dead set against drugs. He's still a little naive to the fact, though, because I told him, because right now there is fake Percocet 30s going around that are actually fentanyl. They're not Perc 30s. They're fentanyl. They look like Perc 30s. They're even stamped the same. So you can go on a pill identifier site and you won't know the difference. So my son says, well, if it's in a prescription bottle, and I would look to see if it's in a prescription bottle. And I was like, anybody can put anything in a prescription bottle, honey. You can that's so easy. If you have drugs like this, lock them up. Make sure they're in a safe with a lock, a combination lock, a pad, a thumbprint, something, anything to keep it out of the hands of young kids and your kids. You don't want that, especially if they have friends over, because friends like to go into medicine cabinets, unfortunately. There's even been cases of people going on real estate open homes and stealing people's pain medicine. Now, if you have opiates anywhere in your home, I suggest that you lock them up. And that you talk to your children every day and say, how you doing today? How's your friends doing? I just want to let you know that, this new drug is out and I want you to be hyper aware of this. And this is the reason why we talk to our children and we educate them. We make sure that they know, because a lot of people in the United States went through a program called DARE, and that's Drug Abuse Resistance Education. And guess what happened? It didn't work. Because they were talking about drugs as these evil things that only evil drug dealers will give you, and they made it sound like to a fifth grader. I was like, okay, drugs are bad, I got it, but then they didn't tell me about peer pressure. They didn't tell back then. I don't know if I think the DARE program has changed since then and added more education to it. But when I was a kid, when I went through DARE in 1992. Or was it 90? 90? I think I was 10 years old. Yeah, 1990. I was like, oh, I'm not going to do drugs. They made us swear that we wouldn't do drugs. But, they failed to mention that when you get to high school, there's going to be kids that smoke pot, and you're going to go to parties, and there might be some, powder laying out. They neglected to say this. So I go and I remember everything and anything that I did at my son's age, and I educate him on that. I share it with him because I don't want him to follow in my footsteps. And so far, so good. We're really on a good track. He's at school. He's focused on school, and he don't mess around with people like that. He's got a really good head on his shoulders because I educated him. and Roman, when he's old enough to understand that, you know, I will be talking to him as well about it, because he doesn't know anything about drugs. He doesn't even know anything besides Blippy right now. And I'm going to keep it that way. He's innocent and pure in mind, and I'm going to keep it that way until he gets older. But I think it's extremely important that you talk to your kids. You know, you are watching their moods, their eating habits, their sleeping habits, their grades in school, and you're really paying attention, because a lot of parents take this as, "Hey buddy, how you doing? How was school today?" "Fine." And then that's it. You know, you have to have more in-depth conversations with your children, because, you know, if you don't, and if childhood traumas are not taken care of, if there are any, thankfully my son, the only trauma that he had was with me. He was really scared that I would not come back once I dropped him off. You know, for when I would go on my drug deals, I would drop him off at his grandma's, because those 2 times taking him I was not going to let that happen again, or worse. I told you guys earlier that I was shot at. Yes, I was, you know, we robbed a drug dealer, and we were in a little Ford Ranger. If you guys know what a Ford Ranger is, it's a compact pickup truck. No extended cab, just a bench seat, and there was 3 people in the car with 2 others with me. I was in the middle. And because I'm the littlest, I didn't get the window seats, you know, and I wasn't driving. So we pulled up on a drug dealer and handed him fake $100 bills and robbed him and took off. And then the guy started shooting. And we had a bullet go in through the cab, and it literally went in between me and my friend, and in between me and her. I was sitting in the middle. She was sitting here. It went between us into the dashboard. And we laughed about it. We laughed about that. And I'm going to tell you what, if that bullet, if that trajectory, if my friend Danielle and I had moved our heads, maybe we wanted to put our heads on one another because we just robbed a dope dealer because we're so cool, we would have been, either one of us would have been shot in our head, and we wouldn't be here to tell the story today. Unfortunately, I don't have talk with Danielle. I don't talk to her because she couldn't get away from the drugs. And I can't be around drug addicts today. Now, with this hospital, knowing my history, they still gave me fentanyl. I had no idea that it was going to happen until they said that word and they pushed that whatever machine that they had to inject me with. And that was it. And I felt like absolute just a failure. I felt like a failure. I felt like, oh my God, I'm such a proponent for people in recovery and recovering from this, that I let this happen. But I couldn't. When you're anesthesia, you see how fentanyl quickly goes into your brain, right? When I tell you he said fentanyl and I couldn't get a word in edgewise, I was knocked out cold. That's how quick it was. So I felt like a failure for not fighting that off and not being like, hey, no, don't do that. It was too late. I couldn't do anything about it. But, you know, a lot of people, you know, I would recommend if you are, you know, abusing drugs like that you're in recovery, newly in recovery, even not newly, if you're almost 8 years in like I am, you're still honest with your healthcare providers. Because, you know, somebody who may be 6 months clean, 9 months, a year, 2 years, you know, they could go in and get a surgical procedure, and that would be it. That would be it. Their brain would be like, I remember you. Welcome back, kid. Now let's go. And it's a nightmare. It's going to turn into a nightmare for you. But me as an individual, look, remember when I told you guys I'm bullheaded? I'm strong-willed? Yeah, that's not going to happen again. And I'm going to give the doctor, I'm going to talk to him, a nice long talk tomorrow. And I'm not going to give him a tongue lashing because it wasn't his fault, because he ordered the Propanol, not the fentanyl. So that's how the hospital almost killed me. It was, yeah, I know it's not my fault. I know that. But as, you know, I'm one of them people that always puts the blame on themselves. Does that make any sense? I don't know why. It's just how I've worked for a very long time. I hope like hell I got through to somebody today. If not more than one person, hopefully more. Hopefully that you guys, you know, you have somebody out there that is currently sick and suffering. I need you to share this video with them. Please. I'm begging you to share this video with them and show them, hey, look at this lady here. Look what the hell she went through. This woman has 6 overdoses, like 32 failed rehab attempts, over 55 arrests in jail, 3 years in prison. And then a lot more stuff that I didn't get caught for. My kid suffered. You know, my parents suffered. You know, and I had 2 dead bodies in my home. 2 people died in my home. Not the same home, but still, it doesn't matter. The police knew me by name, first name basis. That's a problem. You know, it wouldn't be a problem if they know you from going out in the community helping others. That's what I'm trying to do here. So if you know anybody who is sick and suffering, they need to see this. They need to see somebody can turn their whole life around, cannot be a slave to that anymore. Because I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to tell you why it's important that you share this with somebody. Because when I was in treatment those 32 times, and I went to the best of the best rehabs too, you guys. My first cop out, my addiction was like, oh no. When I would ask my counselors, did you have a history of substance abuse history? Were you an addict too? Did you shoot dope? And let's say 99.9%, because I think I had one counselor that, you know, wasn't my counselor but worked at the facility, that had learned through drugs, through doing them. My addiction, all it needed to hear was, no, I learned it in college. And I was like, gotcha. You ain't telling me shit. You don't know shit. So I thought I knew more than they did. Unfortunately, I didn't. You know, and fortunately, I didn't. I didn't know more than they did. But that was all that addiction needed, was to say, oh God, get out of here. You're not going to tell me nothing. I don't want to hear it from you. I want to see somebody actually go through this and beat it, because the statistics tell me that I'm going to be one of the 97% that don't make it. I can't be part of that 3% club. I'm thinking of making 3%er patches, because you have the 1%er motorcycle gang patches. I can't do that. The MC, the motorcycle club patches, I can't do that. That's some disrespectful ass shit. But I can make a 3%er patch because I'm one of 3%. And I would like to see that percentage go up. I don't want to see 97% failure rate and 3% success rate. I want to see that. I want to see it the other way around. I want to see 97% success rate, 3% failure rate. But I can't do it alone. I can't do it alone. I'm only one person that can share out my story to give people that hope that they need and deserve. And to see, hey, listen, everything that you lose, and I've lost homes, you guys, I've lost cars, I've lost, the worst thing that I lost was trust. When you lose your family's trust and that of your own child, do you know how hard it is to get that back? But it's possible. I got out of prison and I worked for 2 years. My best friend, who's getting married in only a few days, went in 4 days, or 5 days, I'm sorry, on the 8th. It took me 2 years of me being out of prison to stay sober and to stay straight for my friend to fully accept me back again into her life and as a friend of hers. And you know what? That was awesome, because I really wanted to be her friend again. You know, my son was just itching for a reason. And when I was in prison, I told my son, you're going to get back the mom that you never had, that you had, wished you had, but was taken away from addiction. And I followed through with that promise, because I will never break my son's heart again. I will never break his trust again. The monetary things that I lost, the hundreds of thousands of dollars that I've given to drug dealers, it's gone. I'll never get that back. The homes that I lost, gone. The friends that I lost, they're not coming back. The cars that I lost, they're not coming back. But guess what? When you live the right way and you're sober, you get better stuff. And what's most important, you get yourself back. And then some. A better version of yourself. A much stronger version of yourself. And then you get nicer cars. You get nicer homes. That trust, those friends that didn't want nothing to do with you, you're going to their wedding one. So, you guys, I've ignored all of you in the comments. I'm so sorry. I just had to get this out. I want to help somebody. Because a lot of people out there ask me what to do for their loved ones. You can't help. You can't help them until they say, okay, I've had enough. And they mean it. And then they go through an extensive rehab where their brain, and they're taught how to think differently. They're willing to give up those friends, the places, the things. They have to be willing. See, I have friends now that are still using, right? One of them was one of my dear friends from high school. And you don't even want to know the knife she stuck in my back. But guess what? She's using. There's absolutely no way that I want to forgive her or give her the time of day to try. You know, addicts like that, they need to see this. They need to see, it's possible. I can be a part of that small percentage. And when I am part of that small percentage will grow and grow and grow. And that unsuccessful rate and that unsuccessful statistic will fall. It's a lot of work, though. I can't lie. The easy part is getting sober. The hard part is staying that way. All right. I want to see your comments. I'm so sorry, guys. Dorinda, I'll talk to you on Discord because I want to talk to you. You already know. Okay. Maggie. Dare. You remember Dare program? Yeah. What I like about seeing when I'm driving are the shoot your local heroin dealer stickers. Upchurch had one on his video. I think it was what one is it, Rolling Stone video? Yeah, it was pretty neat. I was like, hell yeah. Because a heroin dealer or fentanyl dealer is a dealer of death. They don't care about you. They care about money. And I look at that today, and yeah, I kicked it with some of these drug dealers. We had a good rapport because I gave them money. Those Gucci belts that they were wearing, guess what? Now I'm wearing one. Not today, but I'm wearing one because I refuse to give them yet another dollar. They don't care about you. You think they care about people that they're selling dope to that die? They'd sell dope to their own grandmas. Anything to make a buck. And when greed will take over that compassion, yeah, you're probably not the right people to hang out with. Just me, All right. Well, TS. The only thing I can tell you is if I can do it, and if you have to, like, I don't want what happened to me to happen to you in order for you to quit. What I suggest that you do is look at everything that you've lost and make up a list of your pros and cons of what's so great about your addiction and your substance, your drug of choice. I don't know what it is. And say, okay, how many bad things? Be brutally honest with yourself, because your addiction is going to be like, it ain't that bad. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Make a list of pros and cons, right? And see what that addiction has taken away from you. Does your family trust you? Are you allowed the combination to the safe like I am today? And then, you have to get rid of, you have to be ready, first of all. You have to see all of those cons, those consequences that your addiction has brought to you. And you have to be like, oh my God, I've been to jail this many times. Don't want to go back to jail? Are you on probation right now? Do you want your PO knowing? Will you pop dirty urine? You have to look at all of these consequences that are a direct result of your addiction. Have you been to rehabs? Do your family and friends that are non-users They don't want anything to do with you. You know, do you have children that were taken away from you? You have to look at all of those cons as a consequence, a direct consequence of your addiction. And you have to say, if I choose to keep using, how much worse can it get? And do I want to risk that? Do I want to let this addiction win? And that means with your life, because when addiction wins, it takes your life. You pay with your life. Do you have to say, am I willing to let this addiction win, or am I going to beat its ass? And you have to say, am I sick of this yet? Do I have another run left in me? Or could the next one kill me? Do I even care if it kills me? Because I can tell you right now, when I would wake up when I was addicted, I would look up and go, why? Why? Well, today I know. And when you're fresh in addiction right now, so your brain, it's gonna need time to heal from that. And it will. I'm a testament of that. I am proof, living proof. You have to see your consequences before you act. That's a huge one. You have to see, listen, if I go and pick up again, what could happen? How would my mama feel? My kids? Could I die? It's just like going into a store knowing that you're going to go in there to shoplift. I have the chance of getting arrested. If I do this drug, will I fail a urine test for my probation officer? You know, you have to be able to begin to see your consequences before you take action. You have to stop and think for a minute and make a decision. And that's how you beat addiction. That decision that you make. It's either life or it's death. If you choose to quit, you get your life back and then some. If you choose to stay on the road that you are on, you're going to die. Because guess how many old retired drug addicts there are that are living in Florida right now, shooting up? Just guess. And drug addiction, you know, it's so non-discriminatory. It don't care if you're black or white, young, old, male, female. It doesn't give a shit. Its sole purpose is set out to kill you, to run your life. You might think that those drugs are numbing your pain and your sorrows and all of the emotional, this emotional turmoil that you're going through, whether it be depression or underlying childhood trauma that is still fucking with you today. You have to remember this. If you don't work your way through it with a therapist productively, and when you put that substance away, when that substance wears off, if you don't deal with that productively, that problem's still there. But now you got addiction on top of it you got to deal with. And if you're on any kind of substance, I don't know what your drug of choice is, but if it's alcohol, benzodiazepines, or barbiturates, I'm going to tell you what. You best get your ass to a detox facility, because I will never tell an alcoholic, a benzo addict, or a barbiturate user to go on and quit cold turkey, because that will kill you. That is the only 3 types of withdrawals that will kill you, and can and will. Opiate addiction, you feel like you're gonna die, unless you have a bad heart or something. That's the only way you're gonna die. You feel like death, and you certainly might want to die. I will never not tell an addict to, I will always tell, I don't care what substance you're addicted to. I don't care. That's you. What you have to do is make that decision. And then, how do we do this? You know, I did not go through AA and NA. I did only for court papers to get signed. But I took those principles. and I used them after being in those rooms for years. And that's how I stayed clean. I got rid of people, places, and things. And I made I made a moral inventory. And then I started thinking about consequences before I act. And, you know, I gave living a chance again to see if living was better than dying. It was. It turned out it's really great over here. And if, you know, you never, you know, a lot of people are on that pink cloud when they get clean. They're like a month into their recovery, and they think that they can help addicts. That's great. That's a great aspiration, but you're on such, you know, when people, you have such a short window of sobriety. You don't have enough clean time to help those addicts. You know, in rehabs before, I was 30 days in, I got my 30-day chip. I was all, yeah, I'm gonna captain recovery. I'm gonna help everybody. Well, a couple weeks later, I was out using again. You know, you have to, and when you do get that 1 day clean, be proud of it. Your first 24 hours, then make it 24. But take it day by day. You know, a lot of the addicts, they look at people who are getting their 90-day chips, their 6-month chips, their year chips, or their multiple years, and they're like envious. You will get there, but your path to recovery, it's customary. It's not the same as Johnny's or Susie's. So I really strive for people to seek out treatment and detox before, you know, you make that decision. Start making phone calls. You can't afford it, there are scholarships available to get you into rehab. You know, because rehabs are very expensive, and if you don't have health insurance, it could be very difficult. That's another thing that really needs to be fixed. If we have addicts out here, especially veterans, they should be given the utmost luxurious rehab facilities. They should be well taken care of for free. You know, but there are ways that you can get into good rehabs for free. You just gotta call around. And 211 is a number that we use here in the United States that can give you access to programming. And there are, you know, the what is it? The Adams board. Let's see. The Adams board. Adams board. Okay, it is. The Adams board is the Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services. It's ADAMHS. The Adams board is another place that you can go to seek out any kind of treatment. I think it's vital. I don't recommend anybody doing it cold turkey because you don't get the tools necessary that you need to stay clean. You know, I think it's very important that you know, I have seen people, I've dealt with this personally, where I've seen people tell people to just stop taking their mental health medications because it's all in your head. No, the fuck it's not. You have a chemical imbalance in your brain that is medication is needed to stabilize said imbalance. So if you have anybody telling you, like if you have any kind of mental health, because mental health and drug addiction go hand in hand. That's a perfect marriage for a disaster. I'm just saying. You have anybody in your life telling you that this is all in your head, technically, yeah, they're right, it is. It's in your brain, and you know what? You need to do what your medical health providers tell you. They are not a doctor. They are not a pharmacist. What the hell? Don't even listen to them. Don't even listen to them. Because I've seen it for myself where people were like trying to tell people on YouTube here that it's all in your head. Stop taking those medications. Oh, you want people to die? What the hell? There's certain kind of mental health medications that you cannot stop taking. They'll go through withdrawal. You know, like my buddy, I'm not going to mention his name, but I don't know if he's still in here. He's like a brother to me. You know, when you're on mental health medication, you need to take it. daily, as prescribed, what your doctor and or your nurse practitioner has prescribed to you, your medical professional has given to you and told you how much you should be taking. This is imperative because a lot of people with mental health issues will stop taking those medications because they're feeling better because the medication has entered their bloodstream finally. See, unlike fentanyl, some mental health medications take weeks to get into your bloodstream and through your brain and through your body. And then the chemical that's imbalanced in your brain is finally like, oh, we're back. Hi, we're back to normal again. And they start feeling good and they stop taking the medications. No, no, no. And a lot of people in the world will, they will stereotype and they will say how when a drug addict is on MAT, which is medication assisted treatment, which is your Suboxones, it is your methadones, the Subutex programs that they put addicts on, Vivitrol, naloxone, naltrexone. It's medication assisted treatment. Now, a lot of people say, well, especially in Alcoholics Anonymous rooms, well, you're not sober if you're taking that. Well, technically, no, because you're putting that in your body, okay? But medication assisted treatment, guess what? You're 70% more likely to succeed in your recovery. 70%. Now, the 30% are the people that go for that medication and sell it. Or they stop going because they just want to get high again. And they've relapsed. But you have to go with the statistics. I don't care what anybody in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous says. Those old timers that are, who I'm talking about, people that you guys went to AA, you know exactly the ones I'm talking about. When you're going to an AA meeting, you got these old timers here, that know nothing about drug addiction, but they fail to realize that alcohol is to a drug. Alcohol affects the brain and the body the same way. Unfortunately, alcohol will kill you if you stop drinking it, if you're addicted to it. So addiction is the same. It's the same across the board when it comes to substances. It doesn't matter what substance your drug of choice is. Alcoholics, you can't look down on drug addicts. Drug addicts, you can't look up to alcoholics and be envious of them because they're going through the same things you're going. And now maybe you guys, after watching this, can see why I'm so passionate about this and getting them felonies gone. I have 2 left to go. We haven't gone to court yet on the other 2. And then you can see why I want to steer and go to school for my social work degree. Because I want to be able to be the one in that rehab to say, when I get a Jennifer in there that says, have you been through this? I can look at her and say, yeah, I have. And look at me today. You ready to get on board? So that is my passion. Of Vic Miller, especially. I have to tell you that. That's my passion. Is helping people like me. That used to be me. Because addiction's one hell of a drug, or one hell of a thing. I almost went Rick James on you guys. Cocaine's one hell of a drug. I said that to a couple people before. It's so funny. And also with addiction is polysubstance abuse. Cross addictions. It means when cross addiction is when you say, like I was doing cocaine and then I switched to methamphetamine and then I switched to heroin. Went from cocaine, I went to meth to get off the cocaine and then heroin to get off the meth. And, meth and cocaine just were not my thing. I didn't like it. And when I found heroin, it was a love affair. It was a marriage. It was one of the most tumultuous marriages ever. And I'm glad we're divorced. And then your polysubstance abuse is when you're using multiple, like I was too. I was using benzodiazepines on top of heroin. I was using Klonopin. I was prescribed them by a rogue doctor who knew. He knew I was a drug addict. Yet he gave me 92 milligram Klonopins every month. So 3 a day. When I would get those prescriptions, let me tell you what I would do. I would take about 6 or 7, depending how froggy I was feeling that day, and I would chew them up because they were minty. They tasted minty, like candy to me. And then I would roll the dice and gamble with my own life. And I would use opiates on top of benzos, which is a lethal combination. But when I was so far into my drug addiction, I had to. I had to do that to get high because the heroin alone wasn't doing it anymore. So then I was a poly substance abuse user. A poly substance abuse was my thing. And I'm lucky that benzo, I actually, you guys, I weaned myself off of the benzos. The heroines, I just cut cold turkey. I was like, fuck that. I didn't go through withdrawal because I only used that one time. That was it after 5 months of sobriety. I did wean myself off the Klonopin long before because my doctor was pressed by my mother, and she was like, "You're giving my drug addict daughter pills," and so he stopped giving me. He gave me one more prescription and said, "Do what you got to do," and I did. And like this instance with this fentanyl, right? Now, if you have an addict with I would say 6 months sobriety. Let's say I'm 6 months sober. You give an addict that's 6 months sober this fentanyl, their brain hasn't had that time to rewire itself. The brain is going to feel like it's in a utopia. Oh my God, opiate receptor smorgasbord, gimme, 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 gimme. And then that addict goes out the next day when that fentanyl wears off, and they're going to go seek that drug. You see me, I'm like scared to death. Like, oh my God. I don't like the feeling it gave me. I don't like the fact that I was incapable of letting you guys know that I would be streaming today instead. I don't like that. I didn't like the fact that I did not feel like myself. I was like a zombie. And I don't do that. No. I used to be a walking zombie before. And I'm going to tell you what. I had a flashback of my life and what I looked like back then. It was in my trailer of this video. And I'm watching this show called Love After Lockup. I don't know if you guys ever seen it. It's on the We Network. And there's these 2 girls, Nicole and Tia. They are married. They are same-sex marriage. And they are heroin addicts. Tia had went to prison for heroin distribution. And I could just look at their skin tone. I can hear the sound in their voice. An addict knows an addict. Put it that way. And I'm going... Ray Charles himself, if you guys don't know this... Ray Charles was a heroin addict himself and would feel his veins or have somebody shoot him up. But he was a heroin addict. Even Ray Charles could see that Tia and Nicole are high. And for the We Network to get, there's been comments like, why are you allowing these addicts to come on TV and you're making this story about their love affair after prison, when you can tell that they're using drugs? And all for ratings. It's evil. And television is so damn evil, but I can't stop watching this show because I'm like, am I really seeing this? It's like a train wreck, like a dumpster fire. You want to keep watching it. All right. Oh, dude, I'm going to tell you what. Maggie, yes, because I looked back and I'm like, I didn't want this to happen. This was like an invasion of my serenity. And I'm like, whoa, I didn't have any control over this one. And I can't control anybody else but myself, but I can control myself. And that's what's so great about having years of sobriety, is that you will be able to control yourself again. You'll have that willpower because you have that ability to see consequences before you act. That is huge. That is huge in recovery. Now, they don't teach you really that. They don't teach you how to differentiate between, being impulsive, because a lot of addicts are impulsive from start anyways. I'm still impulsive about a lot of things. I should have a schedule, but I don't. I'm not perfect. My life is not perfect, by the way, but I I have that ability now to see consequences before I act. So if I get in let's say, in a road rage incident where some asshole pulls in front of me, I have that ability, and my brain is rewired to where I can say, is that worth it? Could he have a gun? Or do I want to do this in front of my child? You know, I have that uncanny ability to see consequences now before my actions. So that's really huge. All right, you guys, I'm going to give a little bit of break here, and then I'm going to go to my reaction. So I'm going to cut this stream off. I'm going to start a new one. I have to use the ladies' room. I'm drinking, like, literally, my tea got so cold while I was sitting here rattling off for the last almost 2 hours. Oh my God. This was fun. I hope somebody learned something out of this. I hope somebody learned something out of this. I hope somebody gets something out of this. And like I said before, you guys, please share this with somebody that you know that is hard-headed like I was, that thinks they know it all, but has no hope left. Do them a favor. All right, you guys. I love you all, and I'll see you here in a little while. I'm going to take a little bit of a break, and I'll be back to live stream the reactions. I love you guys. Thanks for coming. I appreciate you all. See you later.